Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Unsung Heroes. The off weekend has passed, and so has the Birmingham Supercross, round 10 of the Monster Energy AMA Supercross season, the first East West Showdown of the year, the fourth SMX Next race of the year. Plenty of underdogs and privateers making noise, qualifying in tough conditions, and we'll be here to shine a spotlight on them today. I am Trey Stire, your host. Thank you so much for listening and following along. Of course, as always, you can find this show as a companion show to the Stire Sound, my traditional podcast. Plus, I have a new series that will be dropping every couple weeks or so. It is called Who's Standing Is It Anyway? It is a game show style format where folks try to guess motocross racers based solely off of their stats and the bike brands they've raced on. It was very fun to record. Can't wait to do it. We will have some more of those in the near future. But thank you for the support, of course. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart Radio, YouTube, the platforms where you can find the show at the Stire Sound Official on Instagram. Follow the page there. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into things, starting with the 250 class. As I mentioned, first showdown of the year, so not quite as many privateer guys in the field with the increased level of competition. Club MX Yamaha really staked their claim as the best non-factory organization in the pits. 8, 9, 11, 12. Apart from Nate Thrasher breaking those guys apart, it was one big gaggle of Club MX riders, and it was, of course, Maximus Voland, no surprise, leading the way. The second generation guy was out there, led some more laps in his heat race, ripped a good start, 8th place in the main event, led the way for the team. Maximus Voland, apparently a contract extension in the works as well, according to the Peacock broadcast, which I think Voland and Club MX has been a fantastic pairing. He was one of the best comeback stories of 2025, and now he is continuing to build that groundwork and foundation. Maybe he can go steal a podium in one of these next showdowns or potentially Denver, the last standalone West race. Just behind him, Cody Schock, the other flag bearer of the organization. Cody, solid night for him, back in the top 10. All of their guys were right together, of course. So many Yamahas. I believe 12 out of 22 racers in the 250 main event were aboard Blue Machines. So that just shows you how much confidence and how good those Yamaha YZ250Fs are. Nate Thrasher split them apart. Then you look at 11th place, Devin Simonson continuing his strong start to the season. Of course, it was one spot shy of his top 10 streak continuing, but Devin, a big improvement from last year's showdown start, 18th, I believe, last year in Salt Lake City. So a big jump forward in his second showdown start for Devin Simonson. And then in 12th, rounding out the group, Hunter Yoder putting in a decent ride in his first showdown appearance of the season. He's been in a couple in the past, and Hunter used the break to heal up a little bit, get back swinging on the bike, more work, more practice, and Hunter should be one to watch in these other showdowns and West Coast races once they come up throughout the season. But what a night for the Club MX crew. Then there was another rider in between the last two Club MX guys. It would be Caden Dudney, and two of the Toyota Redlands Bar X Yamaha riders. Dylan Schwartz was back. Great to see the number 42 back on track, back in action. Had a pretty nasty practice crash during qualifying in Houston. Went down hard, withdrew from that night's racing, and then he missed the next few races as well, was absent from Glendale and Seattle, but he returned in one of the hardest races to qualify for if you're a 250 privateer. He put it straight into the main through the heat race. 14th place in the main event for Schwartz in his return to action. Then behind him, 15th place, Lux Turner. Great weekend for the Turner family. Lux had a bad start in the main event. He wasn't very stoked about it, but he did make some progress, moved up from 21st to 15th. He was one of the biggest movers of the race. And of course, as Lux was qualifying for the East-West Showdown and getting some more laps under his belt, His younger sister Lachlan was in Australia, helping Team USA win the FIM Oceania Women's Motocross Cup, alongside Mila Herrick, Jordan Jarvis, Jamie Astudillo. More history for the United States women in Women's History Month. Congratulations to Lachlan, to Mila, Jordan, Jamie, all of those who were part of that program. Awesome to see the American women take home a victory. Lux Turner continuing to get a little bit better, of course, wrist injuries going into the season, but he's starting to rip and feel more comfortable aboard the Yamaha. Moving back a little further, 16th place, another former AEO Power Sports KTM rider. Of course, Lux was on that team the last couple years. Josh Varese back in a Showdown, and I didn't believe this stat when I saw it. For the first time since 2021, which was his rookie season, Josh was able to put it in the main event. The last time Josh was in a Showdown, I was getting ready to graduate from high school. How has that been? Almost 5 years ago. But nonetheless, the Grindstone Friesen Group Kawasaki team, speaking of Women's History Month, Carrie Scher, the only woman in the sport to be owning a race team and operating it. Shout out to Carrie. Shout out to the Grindstone team. 16th place for Josh. Went straight through the heat race as well. He didn't have to go into the chaos and the pandemonium of an LCQ. Great weekend for Josh, and now he's inside the top 10 in points. Great to see for one of the true nice guys in the pits. 17th place, it was another Kawasaki rider, but from the 250 East Division, from MX6 Racing. Henry Miller back in a Showdown, back in the main event after missing the proceedings at Indianapolis. Henry was back with a 17th place run. Nothing crazy, but the first Showdown appearance for the newer fledgling MX6 Racing team, of course. They ran all of the outdoor season last year, but it's their first Supercross season, so another box checked for the MX6 crew. 20th place, Crockett Myers. Of course, we had him on earlier in the season. McGinley Clinic Privateer Support Program rider on his Suzuki B2 Metal Buildings supporting as well. What a night from Crockett. As they mentioned on the broadcast, there are always a couple privateers who might steal a spot, sneak into the main event. You think maybe they're on the borderline, but they rise to the occasion and put her in the show. Crockett Myers, what a fantastic ride in the LCQ. Ripped a great start aboard his RMZ 250 and got up there, held a transfer spot the entire race, cruised into the main event. Unfortunately, he didn't really get to show what he was fully capable of in the main event. I asked Crockett what happened, why he had to pull off early. He told me that he had a flat tire on his machine, which, seeing some of the rocks in the post-race show when Jason Thomas was out on the track, I'm not surprised a bit that one of his tires would have popped. But Crockett still made the show. First East-West Showdown start is a huge accomplishment for a privateer like Crockett. 20th place in the results, a couple more points to his season total. Then, unfortunately, in 22nd from Phoenix Racing Honda, Cullen Park went down hard at the beginning of the main event. I haven't seen the crash yet, but I saw Lewis Phillips tweet about the crash and said that he thought Cullen might have injured his shoulder in the incident. Don't know the official diagnosis, recording this on Monday evening, but hopefully Cullen will be back in action soon. Best wishes to him. And that covers your main event qualifiers in the 250 class. Moving into the SMX Next division now. Fourth race of 5. Their next race will be their championship event in Philadelphia, but they were back on Saturday night in Protective Stadium. And out of the top 10 finishers, 5 of them were competing aboard non-factory or privateer teams. Third place on the podium, first podium of the season. Second start of the year, missed some time after a brutal crash in the main event at Anaheim, but he was back. Ryder Malinowski on the Club MX Yamaha. Fantastic performance. He was moving up steadily through the race, reached the podium, and it was a little bit of redemption from last year at Birmingham. Ryder led some laps, but unfortunately went down in an absolutely wacky race last year. Of course, he got a moto win in St. Louis during the SMX Next All-Stars program during the playoffs in September, and now he has his first podium of the season. Ryder also did some off-season racing and won a couple races in the SX3 class of Australian Supercross. So he's definitely shown flashes and signs of success. First podium for the Club MX Yamaha team this year in the SMX Next division, of course. They took home the number 1 plate last year because of Alex Fedortsov's efforts in Pittsburgh. And of course, Malinowski, Justin Turner, as long as he's all right, should be back in Philadelphia and give the team a chance to claim another one for their trophy case. Back 1 position in 4th place, his best effort in SMX Next to date on the number 2 KTM, Jeremy Fapani, putting together his own effort this year, but he has been improved this year, one of the most improved SMX Next racers in my opinion. He had a 5th place finish in Houston, improved on that with a 4th, ran 2nd for a good chunk of the main event. He did lose a couple positions to Cade Johnson and Ryder Malinowski, but I don't think that's anything to be ashamed of. Johnson and Malinowski, former main event winners in the class, very fast racers. 4th place for Jeremy. Great weekend, great ride from the number 2, and he has been impressive this season so far. A lot of improvement shown from the Arizona native. Then a few spots back, go to 7th place now. Cole Timbo, the Timbo train keeps on rolling. Toyota Redlands of RXC Yamaha. Of course, he's running Supercross SMX Next. He will begin his full-time career as a professional during the Pro Motocross Championship. Ran several motocross races last summer as a pro. 3 starts for Cole this year. He did not participate in Daytona, but 3 top 10 finishes. Pretty solid so far, and he was also one of the biggest movers of the night in any class. He just kept marching forward in that SMX Next main event. Gained 6 spots, took the green flag in 13th position. Then he moved right up into 7th place. 1 spot behind him for the MX6 Racing Kawasaki team, Gavin Betts. Fantastic start for the number 373 on his Kawasaki machine. That bike fired out of the gate very quickly. He ran in the top 2 for a couple laps, got shuffled back a little bit, but it was his first time really being up front and in that mix, fighting for a podium for a little bit. Big step forward for Gavin, 8th place overall at the end of the night. And just behind him, Aiden Kiefer, Lil Kiefer in there, 9th place. He almost got the whole shot, had to slow down a little bit, check up, but he stayed inside the top 10. Very consistent, solid, poised ride from Aiden. 9th place is a pretty solid result. Hopefully we get to see more of that from Aiden as he continues to rise through the SMX Next ranks and potentially begin his pro career shortly. Looking through the list a little bit further down, Gabriel Andrigo from Brazil making his first SMX Next start with the EBR Performance Yamaha crew. 11th for him. Alvin Hillen in there, 12th on the SLR Honda. Good weekend for some of these SMX Next racers, especially Malinowski getting on the podium, Fapani top 5, Betts, Timbo, Kiefer have plenty to be happy about as well. Shout out to all of those guys as they work and continue marching toward the professional ranks. Now getting into the 450 ranks, unfortunately no privateers cracked the top 10 this week. Of course, a lot of that I feel is due to Joey Savacci being out, recovering from his injury from the Indianapolis Supercross, but Justin Hill was right outside the top 10, 11th place for the Monster Energy Team Tedder KTM rider. He worked his way through the field like some of the other privateers we've mentioned throughout the night. Justin kept marching forward, ended up 11th overall, started in 19th position, and steadily climbed forward. He reached 12th after passing Shane McElrath in the halfway point, inherited another position when Aaron Plessinger went down and out of the race. And now Justin is only 4 points away from cracking the top 10 in points. The aforementioned Aaron Plessinger is right there in front of him. 12th place, matching his number, Shane McElrath on the quad lock Honda. His streak of 2 top 10 finishes snapped, but still solid. Not bad from the number 12. He was carrying the flag for the quad lock team, of course. Then in 13th, Vince Freezy matching his Indianapolis result, which was the best of his season, 13th place inside the top 15 for almost the entire main event. And if he keeps continuing to qualify for races, he might be able to hit 140 Premier Class Supercross main events by the end of the season. A very impressive mark. And of course, Vince has been performing at the highest level for a long time. Turned pro at the end of the 2008 Pro Motocross season. He's been working for a while. Great to see him putting that ISRT Kawasaki team up in the main event every single race so far. 10 for 10 for Vince this year. Then in 14th, continuing a string of riders who either tied or set their best finish of the year aboard the KMR Champion Tool Storage KTM, Grant Harlan, 14th. He had a couple 15ths in a row, now 14th, inching forward for the number 62. Grant Harlan said he really enjoyed the weekend. Birmingham, one of his favorite stadiums on the circuit, also said that it felt like Moto 2 at Paula out there, which is one of the things he really enjoys about that track and the conditions. But a great run from Grant, a step forward for him again, slow progress, and he is starting to really feel at home on that KTM, it seems, looking at the results sheet. Then moving on to 15th, you have Mitchell Harrison setting his best result of the season. Like Grant Harlan, he had a couple 16ths, so he improved one spot from his previous best, putting the PRMX team back into the top 15. And Mitch, I know, was a little frustrated at times this weekend. Ken Roxon was pretty upset with him during qualifying for getting in the way, I believe, but I'm not sure it was quite Mitchell Harrison I saw on the broadcast. I feel like Vince Freezy might have been the one to mess with the lap time slightly. But either way, probably those guys look very similar to Kawasaki privateers when you're out there trying to fly around for a lap. And Mitchell also wasn't very happy and stoked with his portrayal on the broadcast. You saw the 1st to 20th place lap time comparisons in both qualifying and the main event from Arlington. And of course, it seemed like on the broadcast, very strangely, of course, Jason Thomas was a privateer. So it was a little weird to see that JT perceiving that it was a lack of fitness maybe for Mitchell, that he was falling off, and Mitchell was quick to strike back, and he said, "No, man, it wasn't my fitness. It's having to move out of the way of the leaders every lap for the last few laps that caused him to drop lap times," which makes a ton of sense, which obviously you can see when you start getting lapped, your lap times increase because you're pulling over or moving over in sections for guys. You're going a little bit slower through some sections, not jumping it all the way, maybe not blitzing the whoops all the way and just kind of rolling through them. I don't know the full answer to that, but if I was Mitchell, I probably would have been upset as well. Nonetheless, season best for the number 41, Money Mitch, 10 for 10. And then another racer with his best finish of the season so far. He's 3 for 3 in the last 3 rounds after a tough start to the year, but it seems like Gizmo Racing Yamaha's Freddie Noren has finally turned the corner, and it was a little bit of deja vu from Indianapolis. That weekend, he took the final transfer spot in the LCQ from Scott Meshy. The same thing happens in Birmingham. Meshy holding fourth early, but Noren gets around him and into the main event. The Swede claiming 16th. Gizmo Racing had an up and down night. They've had an up and down season, really. Some signs of life, then some rough patches. Bryce Shelley out with injury, one of their 250 class racers. Valentin Guillot not able to make the night show. Of course, he's a little banged up from Indianapolis still. But Freddie back in the mix in 16th place. And then moving down to 17th, a really tough weekend for Christian Craig on the Quad Lock Honda. Bad weekend, and he said he was kind of making it a little bit light, a little bit funny in the Instagram post, but he said he chose to go down in the same spot 2 laps in pretty close succession. I believe it was 2 out of 3 laps in a row there. He went down in the same spot, dropped originally from 9th to 19th, then he went all the way back to last place. Rough weekend for Christian Craig, but he was still able to claim some points. 17th place, 5 more points to the season total, although it was definitely not the night and not the result he wanted in Birmingham. Moving back another spot to the 18th position, you have Cole Thompson on the Heartbeat Hot Sauce Nano Extreme Yamaha, powered by Tylube. Another main event for Cole. He is also 3 of his last 3, I believe, along with Freddie Noren. 18th place, of course, he rebounded from that unfortunate crash in the second race at Indianapolis. But Cole Thompson, I said he finished 18th, and he did. He crossed the finish line and took the checkered flag in 18th position, but he ended up getting a penalty for cutting the track in Sector 3. I haven't looked at the sector map, to be completely honest, so I'm not sure what section that was. We know Hayden Deegan, of course, lost the win due to getting docked from cutting in the split lane. Garrett Marchbanks also received a position penalty for cutting the track, and Cole Thompson, his position penalty dropped him behind Justin Bogle to 19th place. Unfortunate end to the weekend for him. Speaking of unfortunate ends, Kevin Moran's got a little bit of TV time in the main event, but not quite the way he wanted. The KMR Champion Tool Storage, KTM team rider, team owner, of course, wearing multiple hats, the face of the Moran's Mafia. But while Hunter Lawrence was starting to lap through some of the riders, Kevin hit a little bit of a soft spot, cross-rutted, something along those lines in the main event. Halfway through or so, on the finish line jump, and flew sideways in the air over the jump. A spectacular looking crash. Thankfully, he was uninjured, but a very wild looking incident, and definitely something that made a few folks probably chuckle a little bit. Kevin just sore, not hurt or anything major like that, but definitely a little bit banged up, maybe a little bit embarrassed after that very weird looking incident, strange looking crash. But thankfully, Kevin's good to go, and he'll be back this weekend in Detroit. 22nd place, he returned to action after breaking his collarbone in Houston. Unfortunately, he went out of the main event early. He is healthy, ready to roll for Detroit, but still not able to claim a point yet this year. Cade Clayson, the second of the Partzilla Rocket Blaster Power PRMX Kawasaki racers. But great step forward for Cade, his first race back from injury, and he was immediately back into the main event. That's a really positive sign, and I'm sure he's looking forward to getting up to speed. And of course, Cade, an Ohio native, probably really looking forward to the Cleveland Supercross coming up soon. He's finally going to be able to get to race in front of his home state. And that concludes your riders in the main event for the 450 class. Of course, we have some finishers outside the main event. We have some news and notes from them. Of course, with the East-West Showdown, some of the privateers from each division popping up to the 450 class for the weekend, namely some East guys. You had Jeremy Hand in there. He was one spot shy of qualifying for the main event on his Valley Motorsports Honda. Then you had John Short back in the 450 class. Of course, he's primarily racing 250 East. John also was competing aboard his 250 machine in the 450 class. Scott Meshy, Tristan Lane, also right outside of the main event. Of course, regulars for the McGinley Clinic Privateer Support Program. Tristan Lane went on a really good run, 4 mains and 5 starts, or 5 attempts, I should say, there in the part of the season right before the break. But unfortunately, Tristan was not able to make the main in Birmingham. Anthony Rodriguez is back, the Venezuelan veteran. He is competing this year for the Dirt Legal Dirt Bike Depot WMR KTM team, the DBD crew's first foray into the 450 class. A-Rod was in a transfer spot during his heat race, went down. Something happened, I believe. Also heard that A-Rod was battling some food poisoning this weekend. Wasn't quite able to get it up in the main event, but I wouldn't be a bit surprised to see the number 123 in the main event soon in the next few weeks. Also great to see the Moto Whips racing crew back in action. Dayton Briggs returning from a hand injury he suffered early in the season, round 2, in qualifying for San Diego. And then the team added another racer due to Anton Nordstrom's injury. Lane Shaw, who was competing in a few 250 West races, Lane is now running for the team. And some of Lane's best success in his career has come aboard a steel frame machine, namely a KTM. So Lane now, the Texan, joining the crew from California. that concludes today's Unsung Heroes episode. Thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed. As always, be sure to tell a friend about the show. Be sure to like and follow us on all of the platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, YouTube. Subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, give likes, give ratings, whatever it may be. We really appreciate your feedback. We also appreciate your support of this program. We'll be back, of course, to wrap up the top privateer racers from the Detroit Supercross this weekend. Finally, a standard standalone East round once again after a Triple Crown and an East-West Showdown. Thank you so much for listening. I have been Trey Stire, your host. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Enjoy your week, and we'll see you after Detroit.